Village Council, June 3rd, 2013, 7 o'clock. Roll call, please.
Joe,
Here.
Kim,
Here.
Bill,
Here.
Kathy,
Here.
Ralph,
Here.
Mary Jane.
Here.
Has everyone had a chance to look at the minutes from last month? So I need a motion to accept.
So moved.
I'll second it.
Roll call, please.
Bill,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Mary Jane,
Yes.
Ralph,
I'll abstain, I wasn't here last month.
Kim,
Yes.
Kathy.
Yes.
I need a motion to approve the warrants and payroll timesheets, please.
I so maybe approved.
Second,
I'll
please.
second it.
Roll call, please.
Ralph,
Yes.
Mary Jane,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Kim,
Yes.
Bill, Joe.
Yes.
Need approval to transfer of police revenue from the general fund to the police fund.
So moved.
Second.
Ralph,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Mary Jane,
Yes.
Kim,
Yes.
Bill, Joe.
Yes.
Need a motion for approval of police fund monthly operating fund transfer, please.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mary Jane,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Kim,
Yes.
Ralph,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Joe.
Yes.
Need a motion to approve the interest transfer.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Joe,
Yes.
Kim,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Ralph,
Yes.
Mary Jane,
Yes.
Bill.
Yes.
I'll rearrange the schedule here a little bit. We have a couple people who'd like to be on the agenda tonight. I'll start with Mike and Roberta Mann. If you would like to come up here, please. State your business with the council tonight.
Okay, my business with this council tonight is over boundary lines with what people can do with them, as far as parking stuff right on them, keeping trees trimmed up, stuff like that. That's what things I like to know about. Is there any ordinances?
Not about boundaries. Some of that, the boundary part of it, I talked with you before. There's nothing that we can do about that.
Well, what I mean by on the boundaries, on you got a boundary line and there's trees, say, and the neighbors own the trees, or they're claiming they do. What's it take for them to keep them trees up? I mean, we got power lines, we got homes, we got a tree that's dropping limbs left and right all the time. I look at it, people would take care of their trees. We wouldn't have all the power outages we have here during the storms and stuff that we have here. People are to be more accountable for their properties.
There's really nothing in our ordinances about trimming the trees, only if they're rotten, they have to take them down. But if they're hanging, I can't remember what the law is on that, if they're hanging over on your property. I'm not sure how that works, but I think you have the right to.
Spend the money to trim their trees for them.
Well, yeah.
Mike, I don't know, and I understand there's a situation between neighbors here, and council and the village cannot, this is a civil matter. We can't distinguish boundary lines because we're not surveyors, but I will tell you this, and I don't know if you were home today.
Yeah, I saw them doing it.
The neighbor is having a survey.
Yeah.
So I think in a couple of days, a lot of your questions are going to be answered here. And that's what needed to happen, because once the survey tells where the property line is, and then if there's a violation, and then the chief can ask to move one way or the other. If there's so much property on this property or this property on that property.
3 feet, if he wants 3 feet, he can have it. If he wants to pay and take care of those trees, like the one that was always on my side of the fence I've been doing, have at it. I don't care, Frank. That's Frank Ennemar I'm talking about. Have at it. You can have that expense. But on that tree in the back is definitely his, and it's a huge one. That's been an issue since I've lived there. It's needed to come out years ago. I offered to pay half a long time ago to the last two owners, him and the one before him. No one wants to take initiative of their own properties. And then we sit here and take a camper trailer and chain it to a tree right there on the boundary line. Now, I'm telling you, it ain't pretty looking, and when he goes popping that thing up, that's what we look at out our window. And I don't think it's right. And I think there ought to be an ordinance for it if there isn't one.
Can't.
Box
ordinance
trucks.
sit here right at the moment, but we have ordinances down here that people are free to come in, and they're always available for anybody who would like to look at them. And like I say, I think once we have the survey back here in a couple days, I think some of your issues.
The survey ain't gonna matter nothing. I just got through, you don't understand, the survey ain't gonna matter nothing. It's still on the boundary line. Are these people gonna be accountable of keeping their side of the boundary clean? Not having stuff chained to the tree, having vehicles parked right on the boundary line all the time.
Well, the survey will determine where that line's at, though, and then it will decide who the tree belongs to. So once the survey's done, Mike, I think a lot of these issues are going to be cleared up as what needs to be addressed. And that's the best way it can handle, because it's between neighbors, and we don't have the authority to say, here's the boundary line, this tree belongs to you, or half of it belongs to you, half of it belongs to me. That's what the survey has to be done.
Well,
It's being done, so.
I can tell you right now, on the survey, I can tell you what's going to happen already. I've already seen it going on. There's the street behind me, or the alley behind me, and there's a street in front of me. The Browers own across the street from me, and they own one of the homes behind me. And they got two fences that line right up with one another. So that's what they're going by. And they're more in towards me than what the fence was that was between me and the neighbor I have now. I know, because I'm the one that tore the fence out, 1987. Went right down through where them two trees that I left in there. And I'm just saying, it's funny how we can sit here and all of a sudden I bought something, and now I'm being told that there's a possible chance I'm going to lose that. Fine, I don't care. There ain't nothing to 3 feet. I got 200 acres or better out here to deal with. That ain't got nothing to do with it. What I got a quorum about is having stuff parked right on these boundary lines, or within 10 feet of it. We're talking about automobiles, oil leaking automobiles. They ain't got an automobile one that don't leak oil, except for that new truck he's got. Other than that, every one of those vehicles that they keep around leaks. They park them in the yards. We got a box truck that hangs out in the yard half the time. Where that camper was, that box truck was there. I think you might have made him move that, thank God. Now it sits on the other side as a hindrance in the alley.
And he's in violation there, and he has been sent many letters, and now it's 4th time, so that's the only way we're going to get him to do anything.
You know, the bad part about things is that no matter how much regulation you can do, you can't regulate someone's taste, the way they keep their, there are certain things you can do, but you're limited to, it has to be a licensed vehicle, if I'm not mistaken, or it has to be under roof.
Yeah, the only time I can have a vehicle moved is if they're not properly plated or don't have any plates at all. And most of that falls under zoning too, so.
Didn't that new ordinance have a restriction on parking in the yard?
You guys are making it sound like you can't even make a new ordinance if one needs to be.
We can, but then, well, we can check it out with the attorney and all, but sometimes there's state laws that we can't do anything with.
The survey will not go by any fence lines. The surveys will go by pins in the street.
Mhm.
So, I mean, once we have that information back from the surveyor, I think some of this issue as far as the boundary line is going to be cleared up, but we cannot clear that up. That has to be cleared up by the surveyor.
Answer me a question and then I'm done. Let's just say we're getting there a storm here soon, and let's say that great big tree drops another big branch, and there's power lines all over there. And let's say it comes down and crunches on my house. Who's going to be accountable for it? It'd be
the insurance company or the people the tree belongs to.
Actually,
Your
actually,
insurance.
your insurance for
It's the other way around.
your property.
You'll have to.
I went through the similar situation last July. I lost a big chunk of my tree, and it damaged some shed on my property. It landed on the neighbor's garage and did some damage to their garage. And I wanted my insurance company to pay for both. We both had the same insurance company. The adjuster told me that they're responsible for their property, you're responsible for your property. The only way I would have been liable for that tree had I neglected to, if there was some visible rot or decay and I neglected to address it and it fell, then it would be my liability. That's what I was told by the insurance company. And it doesn't make sense that the tree on my property can fall and damage my neighbor's home, and I'm not responsible, but that's the way the insurance laws are written.
Bring them.
I learned something today.
We just went through it too. Yeah, we depends what we shouldn't have found out later.
If you knowingly let it go, then it comes back.
Now, if you ask your neighbor to trim that tree and your neighbor refused, then you would have some documentation that said, I asked for this issue to be addressed, it wasn't addressed. You might have a case there where your neighbor is liable.
Exactly.
What photos are you giving me here, Bert? They're all kids.
Oh, dear. Sorry.
Well, here's one. Here's another. Here's another. Here's another. Hillbilly scene. You like living next to that?
I understand your frustration, Mike, but we're limited to some things that we can do and some things we cannot do.
I have an appointment with the attorney tomorrow. I'm asking about tree ordinance and keeping them trimmed. I don't know what we can do, but I'll try to do something.
See that camper trailer, why it sits there like that? And that box truck, that you made him move, we use that as a fence so we don't see us tearing up junk off of cars. And because we're junk man Frank, that's how we make a living. And we do it here in a yard that's a town yard. What do you call it? Residential property. It's not business. This is not Brower's Garage where they have rights to do something like that. Get me? Am I wrong? Residential properties, that's what they are.
Yeah, but
It's his hobby, I mean, there's gray areas.
I know it's
You
very
already-
frustrating, but if he leaves that, I know you say he's tearing up old junk or I don't know what he's tearing up, but automobiles probably or whatever.
Anything he gets his hands
And the only
on.
time I can do anything is if he lets it sit and never moves it or cleans it up.
Mike, hopefully this survey will enable some of this to be cleared up. And I asked the surveyors today, and it's probably said it'd probably take 2 or 3 days where they have the information for anyone to review.
Tim, some of them are bad, poor pictures.
So,
I bet some-
but unfortunately, we had the same situation down on Spring Street, and it just had to be settled in civil court because we don't have the authority to settle this fault between neighbors. We can't run the boundary lines and stuff like that, so.
And see, I never had any problem out here before. But you know, I'm wondering if there wasn't some other neighbors in the past that reporting to one of you people in the past, and it
Not
comes
that I
back,
know of.
and it comes back to looking like I'm the guy, because see, the people before he lived there, and the guy owned it, that they're dead now, them older people. What's it?
Herman's.
Herman's. When they rented it out to that Allen kid. And they had a couple dogs right against the garage, penned in, and it was in mud and their own feces, and had pups in it, and I never called nobody, but someone did in the neighborhood. I come pulling up one day, I'm just giving you all an example about something. I come pulling up one day, go in the house, and this lady was over there near that pen. She comes walking over to me and she says, you the neighbor here? I go, yeah. She said, well, I'm here about these dogs. And I says, well, what about it? She said, well, you're the one that called. And I says, no, I'm not. I'll call you. So see, there's a lot of neighbors that might pin things on you because they don't want it being pinned on them.
I understand, but that's nothing.
And now all of a sudden,
Control.
I'm having problems out, these neighbors playing push shove out there on the street, and parking stuff on the fence line all of a sudden. I'm thinking, someone created trouble, and they're thinking it's me. Now they have trouble. I've been calling you for the last year or two because of this.
We do have an ordinance about parking in the yards, but the trees, the only ordinance we have is if they're rotten and then I can do something about it.
Well, Mike, thank you, and like I say, there are certain things we can do, but hopefully when this survey comes in, then the tree and the camper, the borderline and all that will be cleared up, and we'll be able to, you guys, or the chief will at least have authority to stand on them when he knows where the line is. Right now, we don't have anything to do about it because we can't determine boundary lines, simple as that.
Yeah, see, I told you, the boundary line is irrelevant to me right now. It really is. It's what goes on just barely on the other side of that boundary line is what concerns
I
me.
understand your frustration, but, we can't control everything between neighbors or some things we control or some things we cannot.
And the only thing I come down here about is I'm just asking you all, you might want to think about creating some new ordinances. Just clean this town up. Just make people more accountable of their own property. That's all I'm getting at.
We try, Mike.
I trim my trees. I pay $1,000 every 3 or 4 years to have them trimmed. So can you and you and you and everybody else that lives here.
We understand, Mike. We try, trust us, we really do. It's a tough nut to crack sometimes.
Thanks for hearing me.
Thank you. Mr. Hoffman?
Yep.
Neil Hoffman, 24 Shady Lane, New Paris. What I'm here tonight is I want to present this to the council for their consideration. What it is here about 3 months ago, while watching the evening news, I saw a story on the city of Eden, which they were putting in effect a nuisance ordinance. What this does is cover landlords who rent the drug scum and trash that doesn't need to be in our community as far as I'm concerned. And this is a way to take care of some of that. And what Mike was talking about, also, this will also cover some of that also. There's quite a bit of detail into this ordinance, and I think the village needs to take a long, hard look at this. This is in effect in Eden right now, has just gone into effect. And as well as you know, that we are a border town, and we catch a lot of this riffraff in and out. And we have landlords, some landlords who care about their property and care about who they rent to, and we have some others that don't. And that they'll just rent to anybody who's got $1. And then we have nothing but trouble over and over and over and over again, and the police are down there all the time. Well, under this ordinance, they would be able to find the resident, not only find the resident, but also find the landlord. So make the landlord a little more responsible about who they do rent to. This is going to be a first step in a way to clean up our community. We have to take more control of our community anyway. This is not only going to happen here, but it's going to happen in Camden and West Alec and Lewisburg, and everybody's already seeing that anyway as time goes on. And I think that the village needs to take a look at this ordinance and check it out for your consideration. I'll leave that here with you.
Thank you, Neil, for bringing this to our attention from the police department, from the Eden Police Department. Council, you have in front of you the same letter. I would ask that you look this over and be ready for discussion at next month's meeting. We'll probably do, if council sees fit, we'll do a first reading on this after discussion. And so please look it over and see what you think about it, or any tweaks or additions or whatever. I think it's a good idea also.
Say the line. because the landlord, or 34 in here is rentals and,
Camden has the same thing, Camden's at 60% now. 60% rentals.
And what's going to happen?
Everybody's having the same problem as we are. We're not, this isn't something new. You know, we're a border town, the whole county's having the same problem. And this is a way that the police can handle this. When they're called down to a house 5 times in one night, you know what I mean? That's a problem, that's a nuisance. You got dogs, you got, just what Mike was talking about. This covers some of that. They don't have to go through the system, they can go down and cite you. You know? Consider that. Read that.
yeah, I
over.
will.
I want to take place as more and more of the villages or towns adopt this, which I'm sure they will. They'll just start seeking places where they don't have this in place to live. And so I think it's worth consideration here, a lot of consideration from council. So like I say, next meeting, we'll have discussion on it once you have a chance to read it. Thank you, Neil.
Yep.
All right, Susan is not here tonight. Committee reports, safety.
For the month of May, the Paris Police Department responded to 102 calls for service. 27 reports were taken, 13 citations were issued, along with 6 warnings issued, and 1 vehicle is impounded.
Thank you, sir. Any questions? Building? Anything have anything on that? Do we know? No. Streets? I have a couple things on streets that we will address. As you know, in our last meeting, talking with Susan, the bid come in relatively a little bit lower than we expected. There was like a $30,000 low. I asked Susan to put some numbers together. As you know, we originally only used part of this grant. We didn't use it all, but we are entitled to use it all. And for us to receive the other $82,000, we would have to match 26% of that, which is $32,000. But the 32 and the 82 would give us $114,860 total to do something with.
In addition to the projects already.
In addition to the project that's going forward on Washington Street. Now,
Which came in $30,000 under budget.
yes. Having said that, originally, we were very concerned about being able to come up with a match. Going too far out on them to match the full grant. But we are starting to get some indications back on the income tax. And not only that, we've got, at the end of the year, we've got a pretty sizable balance in the street fund of $41,000 after all the commitments are made. So between the street, if necessary off-street, or possibly a little general fund and street, I think it would be wise for us to consider not giving this free money back and doing something with it. Now, and this is up to council, but I took it upon myself, being on the streets, that I had her look at a couple issues for us. Number one was, and I went and measured these today myself too, because she took this off Google Earth, but I measured it today and walked them today with a roller measure, and the numbers are pretty close to what she come up with. If council chooses to seek the rest of this money, there's a couple things we can do with it. One of them is Shady Lane. We can grind it and pave it, all of Shady Lane. That would be $78,400 to do Shady Lane. The other one that she put together was from the water plant on Cherry down to Lincoln, which is 700 feet by approximately 30 foot wide, 21,000 square feet. Milling and paving there would be $53,000. those two numbers exceed the 114. But we got to remember, we got that extra 30 in there too, that we got under bid there, so we got that 30. So we could possibly, we should be able to do those two. I would ask council to consider if we did Lincoln up at the other end of Lincoln, up into the new addition, or the newer addition of town. Lincoln Lane, yes, thank you. The length of that street is 870 feet. So another 170 feet, which when we put these bids out here, we can just, we could tweak it or ask, this is what we want to do, can you do it for this amount of money, all that kind of thing. We're talking, or we just pay for the other 170 feet. But you have the opportunity that you could totally finish 2 streets with that additional money versus patching, and it needs it, trust me, they're coming down Cherry, it needs it, but it'd be up to council what they would choose to do. I would personally lean towards completing two as to partially doing one, would be my opinion, but it would be up to council. Number one, to decide whether we want to spend the additional money to get the rest of that grant. And then number two, decide as to what council would like to do and which projects they would like to look at. That is not something that we have to decide tonight. Susan says this could actually come in, seeing how the asphalt and it'll be the last part of the project on phase 3, that, she probably wouldn't have to have a decision on this probably till July, maybe August.
We're not talking about bidding a new project, we're talking about extending the unit figures to
Yes.
pro tech or whatever that we.
Well, yes, it'd be into the project, and we'd still fall under the total of the grant, because, we originally didn't think we could handle it. Now it looks like we can, and so if we don't use that money, the county commissioners takes it back, gives it to somebody else. So what you have is a chance to get an additional $82,000. Or $32,000 of it. I mean, it costs us to do it, but you gain a lot. And this is our last shot. Our next thing in the pipeline for grant would be Cherry from the stoplight this way, which is in the pipeline for 2014, which would not take place until 2015 or so. And there again, we still have to be selected,
Yeah.
so it's a long process.
Yeah, but
And
from
seeing
the
how,
stoplight down, that's the state.
Cherry Street or these?
it is a state route, yeah, you're right, but that, we had that in the, what the next storm sewer stuff, is that what we had in the pipeline on that? Okay, all right, storm sewer on that, yeah. Fine.
Is there figures in there finishing Main Street? Because we're only going to do part of it, isn't it?
I'd like to explore that.
Well, Main, no. Main stops, what work we're doing is too high. But if you look at the roads, from High to Spring, that road is far better shape than the other two that we're talking about.
Cherry needs it bad up there,
So,
from the stoplight up.
well, we don't
Yeah,
have
I
that. We don't have that. So, this is
I
just
will
something
say
to throw
that
this
the
out
two-
for council to
The
consider.
two neighborhood cul-de-sac streets that we're talking about here are in bad shape.
Yes, they are.
I mean, I walk them, so I know they're not in very good shape.
And like I said, this is open discussion tonight for council to think about. This is not something we have to decide tonight. Council, take a look. First of all, you guys need to decide if you want to go after additional money. If you decide to go after it, then you have to decide which avenue you'd like to pursue. But we had Susan give us these numbers, and based on, and what these numbers are based on is the milling and the footage and the thickness that they're doing on Main now. So it's $2.56 per square foot.
Can I make the motion that we appropriate the funds and then decide exactly what project next month?
I would suggest that we give council time to consider that, And we're not under the gun here, so we don't have to make those decisions tonight. I would think, I would ask everyone to consider the financial part of this before we make a decision on that.
I do have one question. We did have a complaint about the state of the circle area on Cardinal Hill Drive.
On where?
Cardinal Hill Drive?
Yeah.
Did we have, I mean, I know there wasn't a lot we could do with it. We did say we'd look at it.
Well, we took some grindings down there. He had a mud hole down there. We did go down there and fill that.
Okay.
That was run to us from a
Yes.
resident down there, and we did do that. But,
Partially, part of it wasn't done. I was back there, it was still muddy up there. I was back there looking at properties and all, and it still needed some more, whatever you put on there, cinders or whatever it was.
like I say, this is just open discussion tonight for council to think about, but I would think by next meeting that council would have to make a decision on this as to the direction they'd like to go with it. So,
Alrighty. While you're on the streets.
yeah.
The fire department has asked me to inquire about the bridges that we have on Spring Street and Walnut. If they're safe enough to go across with a fire trucks full of water. There's concerns for the fire department, especially the Spring Street Bridge, and I realize those are our responsibility now. The county's turned that over to the village. And I wondered who we get to look at that to see what the weight limit could be on that because of the deterioration that it is, and the fire department is very concerned about that particular one on Spring and also the one that about it.
I guess we would have to contact the county and ask them who their inspectors are who come out and look at such items.
I think we'll get back with our next meeting, which is next week.
But you start talking about replacing, and you know, this is an ongoing thing, all of a sudden the county decides to say, oh, it's yours now. Well,
They already
Which they
said
did,
that.
they already told us.
I got news for you, you're talking $300,000 or $400,000 to replace that bridge, so at this point in time, I'd say you put up a road closed sign or something
Yeah.
next to it.
But it would be nice-
That's what they want to know, that whether they
It would be nice to
use
get,
it or not because of the circumstances.
And we have to, just have to call, ask the county who the inspector is, I know that the inspector.
prioritize the
I know the
bridges so we'll
inspectors,
know.
I know the inspector was here a couple months ago, him and Billy checked out the one down on Walnut.
Is there a fee to the village to have the inspector come in and look at it to see if it's safe to use it?
It shouldn't
I do
be.
not know.
No, there is, somebody's going to pay him.
I'll have Billy make those phone calls,
Okay.
because
Taxes are
him
already
and the inspector did check out the one down there on Walnut, and the inspector told him, he said, well, normally the county does a lot of their work. He said, if we did this work, it'd be $275,000 just for that little.
Well, they're not so much concerned about it getting it fixed.
I understand
They use it or
collection.
not.
I understand collection.
If it's a questionable thing, they want to reroute their fire trucks.
I understand.
If they have an issue there.
I'll have Billy make a phone call and see if there's, see what it takes to get that done. If there's a cost, what the cost is, whatever.
Shouldn't be. You're already paying. But anyway, if there is, but they should be prioritized so we know what each bridge, what kind of shape each
So they don't
bridge
want to
is
send a
in.
truck down there from Bridget and go home.
And they know when to shut them off.
I understand.
Rick, can I say something?
Yes, Neil?
Just on that issue right there, I think the council needs to contact him and ask him this question. For years, they told us the bridges were okay. Now, all of a sudden, we get a letter from the prosecuting attorney and the counties telling us that the bridges now are in bad shape. Why didn't you fix them when they were your responsibility? Now it's ours, now they need fixed.
Right.
So I think that needs to be addressed. To me.
Same thing with the creeks, you know. County
Sure.
supposed to take care of the canal and said, oh, no, it's not ours. But, you know, the county took care of it before when there was a problem. They, oh, we'll do this, and all of a sudden, oh, here it's yours now, we're done with it. So it's an ongoing issue with it. But I'll have Billy call the
Yeah,
inspector and
whoever,
see when we can find out.
whether there's a reduced weight limit on it, and if there is, how much it is, so we know how much, you know, whether we can send a fire truck across it or not.
I'd have all of them checked out.
Don't forget ice.
Oh, that. What'd you say?
said I'm on High Street, where I understand it, cobbled up on you. You need to have to check that out too.
Lights?
Nobody's told me anything, I haven't seen anything.
Finance?
We've got an ordinance for this later. I think it's on your agenda.
Resolution? Sanitation?
I was gonna thank the chief and all the officers for the help, and I know the chief has had some citations on getting some properties cleaned up here in the past 2 or 3 weeks, and I appreciate that. And I sent out a letter of compliance. There's several more that need to go out. The school bus barn roof was, I say, temporarily fixed. It looks better than it did. They took all the shingles off, and there's a metal roof up there now. It's still, to me, that building needs to be torn down, but all of it. But anyway, no, I have not been able to get a hold of Mr. McMahon to talk to him about. I don't know, there are several residents in New Paris that had called him. They asked me for the phone number, and they contacted him, so maybe they'll listen to them more than they will us. So anyway, the roof has been, it looks okay. And the Ohio Moving Forward grant, which is monies to do demolitions on some of the houses around, they have given me more time to get some of the paperwork in. I needed an attorney a couple of weeks ago to get some information, and I have an appointment with the attorney tomorrow to go through all this and some other things. I have received all the plans and maps from ODOT for the land transfer at 119 North Washington Street. I have to get those to the attorney so we can check everything out and get it recorded at the courthouse, and then it'll be ours. And changes were made about the tire grant. The flyer I reported last month that they had a grant and they was going to accept tires. There was a little change in that because they had forgotten to put on the flyers that the EPA was going to, they had to have their initials on that flyer. Made it illegal, so they're going to send us a new flyer. It may have some different time changes and dates on it. Other than that, that's all I have.
Mr. Mayor, can I add
I'm
something?
sorry.
Can I add something to the old school subject? I spoke with Mr. McMahon last week, and he told us that he's going to trim down all the weeds and all the trees in the back fence there to get it all cleared out so we can see it better. And we did a walkthrough last week, and he's boarding up all the broken windows, because we still have people going in there, stealing stuff. So he's supposed to come in there with a wood chipper and just clean it all up and make it look good, he said. So
Wow, okay.
it should be
Well,
something.
don't hold your breath, because this has been going on for years. I did contact his secretary a while back, and I think I reported last meeting that I found a grant that would tear that school building down, but it has to be applied for by the owner only. So, and I gave him the numbers and the contact people's names, and I haven't heard anything from it. But he just bought the old Bruce School down in Eaton. What he's going to do with that, I have no idea. But I'm also going to talk to the attorney about getting something done with that school building too. And I'm sure we'll wind up in court over that. That's all I have.
Anything else, Bill?
No.
All right, on planning, we adopted the new zoning last month, planning and zoning for for New Paris last month, and according to the zoning, the village council shall establish a village planning commission of 5 members, consisting of the mayor, 1 member of village council, and 3 citizens of the village of New Paris. So I'd like to set that agenda, set those members tonight. Other than the mayor, myself, I would ask that, and I have spoken with Neil Hoffman, has agreed to be on the planning commission, Rick Spar, and Kevin Smallwood. Now I would need council to elect someone from council to be on that. Ralph currently is in that position. It's up to council to decide who they would like to be there.
Let Ralph stay.
I need a motion. if
I
that's what
move
you
that
want to do.
Ralph be the member from council on the planning commission.
I'll second it.
Roll call, please.
Joe,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Kim,
Yes.
Kathy, Mary Jane.
Yes.
Ralph.
All right, BPA.
Need a motion to accept all the others.
Yeah, you're right. Thank you, Neil. I need a motion from council to accept the other 3.
I move to accept the others.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Joe,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Kim, Kathy,
Yes.
Mary Jane, and Ralph.
Yes. Why do you want to be up there?
I've had one 13 years ago.
All right, we got some resolutions here. Resolution 2013-07. And this is a resolution adopting the tax budget of the Village of New Paris, Ohio for the financial year beginning January 1, 2014, and submitting the same to the Preble County Auditor. Basically, she's got to have this in place to give to Andy, is what this is. So,
I make a motion.
wait a minute, we got to read the whole thing off. Whereas the village financial officer has prepared a tentative tax budget for the Village of New Paris, Ohio for the fiscal year beginning January 1, 2014, showing detailed estimates of all balances that will be available at the beginning of the year 2014 for the purpose of such year and of all revenue to be received for such year, including all general, special taxes, fees, costs, percentages, penalties, allowances, and prerequisitions, and all other types of class of revenue. Also estimates of all expenditures for the charges and for the purpose of such financial fiscal year to be paid or met from the said revenues or balances and otherwise conforming with the requirements of law. Now, therefore, it be resolved by the council of the Village of New Paris, Ohio, 1, that the tax budget of the Village of New Paris, Ohio for the fiscal year beginning January 1, 2014 is hereby adopted. 2, that the copies of the tax budget are available for the public inspection during regular business hours in the office of the fiscal officer. 3, that the fiscal officer is hereby authorized and directed to certify a copy of the tax budget and a copy of this resolution to the Preble County Auditor on or before July 20th, 2013. 4, that this resolution shall be in full force and effect at the earliest period allowance by law. This is something we have to do for Mindy, and I need a motion on this
I
resolution.
would move due to time constraints that we declare an emergency only because it has to be in by the 20th of July and pass this resolution on single reading.
Well, we gotta do the resolution and vote, and then we gotta do the emergency vote. So I need a motion to,
I make a motion
Fine,
to
no, no, no.
adopt the tax budget for the year beginning January 1, 2014.
Second.
roll call, please.
Ralph,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Kim,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Mary Jane.
Yes.
Okay, and let's declare an emergency because of the time constraints and pass this on a single reading.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Roll call, please.
Joe,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Ralph,
Yes.
Kim, Kathy,
Yes.
Mary Jane.
Yes.
The next resolution is this is about our renewal levy that's coming on the ballot this year. Again, it is a renewal, it is not an addition. Resolution 2013-08, resolution declaring it necessary to renew levy a tax in excess of the 10 mil limitations. The Council of the Village of New Paris, Preble County, Ohio, met in regular session on June 3rd, 2013 at 7 p.m., whereupon the following was placed in consideration on the regular agenda of the council. Whereas the amount of taxes which may be raised within the 10 mil limitation will be insufficient to provide an adequate amount for the necessary requirements of said Village of New Paris, Preble County, Ohio. Therefore, be it resolved by the Council of the Village of New Paris, 2/3 of all members elected thereto concurring that it is necessary to renew levy a tax in excess of 10 mil limitations for the benefit of New Paris Village for the purpose of current expenses pursuant to the Ohio Revised Code, Section 5705-19, at the rate not to exceed 2 mil for each $1 evaluation, which amounts to 20 cents for each $100 evaluation for 5 years. This is a renewal levy commencing in 2014, first due in 2015. Resolved that the questions of levying additional taxes may be submitted to the electors of said Village of New Paris at the general election to be held at the usual voting places within said Village of New Paris on November 5, 2013, and be it further resolved that said levy be placed upon the tax list of the current year after February settlements next succeeding the election. If a majority of electors vote in favor thereof, and be it further resolved that the clerk of this Village of New Paris be, and she is hereby directed to create or to certify a copy of this resolution to the Board of Elections, Preble County, Ohio, and notify said Board of Elections to cause notice of election on the questions of levying and said tax to be given as required by law. And this is something we have to provide Mindy to put it on the ballot. Having said that, I need a motion for resolution 2013-08.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Joe,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Kim,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Ralph,
Yes.
Mary Jane.
Yes.
Now I would like
I
to,
would move that it be, because of time constraints, this be declared an emergency and passed in single reading.
I'll second it.
roll call, please.
Joe,
Yes.
Bill, Mary Jane.
Yes.
Kim,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Ralph.
Yes. Thank you. And this, for everyone, this is a renewal. This is not an addition. It's simply a renewal. Okay, under old business, I got anything?
One of the lines under old business, not, you asked to go to the Board of Public Affairs meeting to ask them about the monies, help us with the 70/40 issue out there, which they did approve the $1,500. I didn't see any VPA members here, so we do have half of that 3,000 coming from them to go with the 1,500 we have, we need the 3,000 for, so
Yep.
we did get that done.
Thank you, that's been taken care of, and the township stepped up to 3,500, so I will tell you that we had a teleconference with Billy Sweet, myself, and Shonda Combs, with the company that will be doing the market analysis, and that was a few weeks ago, and I haven't heard anything. They were supposed to be sending a contract for the amount of $12,500 to us. I do not know where that stands. I have not had any contact with Shonda, whether she has received that or where she has not received that. The money is in place for the market survey, so that's the next step. So it'll be a long, slow process, but at least we're heading in the right direction.
The ball will bounce you.
Yes, thank you. Okay. This, on the renewal of the insurance. Council needs to decide, we decided last month to renew the insurance for everything at the, what was it, $18,787 is what it was? And we had decided that we could save like, what was it, $2,000 or $1,200 if we paid it all at one time. And they have sent it back to us saying that if you pay it all up front, you save $414. So council needs to decide whether they want to pay this all at one time or whether they want to make payments. You're talking about $400 now versus the $1,000 or $1,200, I forget last meeting. There's a little over $1,000. So we were able to make that one-time payment last month. We're still able to do that, so you would still be saving $400. So council's following this.
Well, we need to save $400 if we can make the full payment. I make a motion that we do that.
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Bill,
Yes.
Kim,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Mary Jane,
Yes.
Ralph,
Yes.
Joe.
Yes.
Okay, UNA computer upgrade, laptop, desktop. What this happens is, we have to be, Jayla, if you would please, you can explain this better than I.
The laptop I use in my office for the accounting is provided. We do pay for it in the annual payment. Usually it's a desktop that's sent to us every 2 years. We now have the option to choose a laptop or desktop.
This comes to us because we have to be, and we got to be in their
You have to
system.
use their accounting.
Yes.
They use their accounting system, so every 2 years they give us a new computer. It's figured into it. Right now it's a desktop, or now they've opened it up to if you want to do a desktop or you can do a laptop. My suggestion to the council would be keep the desktop. I have some concerns about a laptop. If it left and something happened to it, got lost, how much would it cost council to replace that? If somebody breaks in here and does something to it, our insurance covers it. I'm not sure that we would have coverage on the laptop. But we need a decision from council tonight as which way to go so she can tell them which way so they will send her the new computer.
And you have no definite preference on either?
Rick and I just kind of threw it
She would
back
like
and
the laptop, but they're having mentioned about the possibility of theft, losing it, what it would
Yeah,
cost.
so-
If we lost that information, what would it cost us to regain it, blah, blah, blah. I think we're better off staying with the desktop in here. And then this computer, the last one that when he was done with it, they moved it over to the police department. The police department's using it. The old one is up to our discretion to use in-house. It's ours. So they're going to send us a new computer, they just want to know which one. And I think it should be the desktop from the fact that if something happened to it here, then our insurance would cover the cost of having to regain that or retrieve that information. If it's a laptop and she carries it home, I don't know what would happen in that situation.
If you're comfortable with the desktop, I make a motion that we go with the desktop.
Second.
Roll call.
Bill,
Yes.
Kim,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Ralph,
Yes.
Mary Jane,
Yes.
Joe.
Yes.
Dollar General, we have applied for a card from Dollar General for a credit limit, and they've given us a credit limit of $400. So, incidentals, whatever, that may be needed here, that can be acquired down there. So you need a motion from council to send that card.
Who will hold the card?
The card will be held.
I have it.
Finance officer will have it.
I think they've sent like 4 cards, so they're all in the locked up.
Council's discussion board, yes, no?
As long as she's the only one that uses it when needed.
You in charge of PO,
But,
purchase orders.
Yes.
yes.
handy. It's here in our own village. We should support it if we need to, and it would just be for little things you just need
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
So is that a motion to accept the $400
I move
card?
that we accept that card with a $400 limit.
And I'll second that.
Roll call, please.
Joe,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Mary Jane,
Yes.
Ralph,
Yes.
Kathy.
Yes.
Kim.
Yes.
Only other thing I have is the income tax we have received. I'll tell you what we have received the income tax as of this month. From businesses and from residents, we have received $39,204.92.
That's year to date, or is that?
Now, there again, we're replacing a lot of money that the county's taken away from us. That sounds like a lot of money, but when you think about the $72,000 that we got to replace, when the county finishes up that other 40%, I mean, it's a bridge. It ain't the rainbow. So, but that's what we have for the public. That's what we have received from
Where
businesses.
would we be if we didn't have it?
And there again, we still need that renewal levy. It's important, because that renewal levy is a $30,000 levy. So if you take that renewal away from us, you just lost almost all of what you gained. So it's a renewal. There's nothing extra than what you're doing now. It's simply a renewal, and it is important.
I do have a question about the spreadsheet here. And my question is, this setup fee that we had to pay this past year, is that the last time we have to pay that? It's already set up, or do we have, I know we have to pay their collection fees or whatever. Will we be paying that setup fee every year?
To my knowledge, no. That was an original $4,700,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Originally, it's $4,700 to get that all set up, with hardware and everything, or software, excuse me, not hardware. Show you what I know about computers. Software, and once in place, so I would say that is a one-time thing, to my knowledge.
Well, I mean, that would be nice,
Yes.
but I just, that was.
Unless they
Yeah, I had a question.
unless they would do the state, if they would, and I don't know this, but I'm saying, you know, how the state changes every couple of years, they, well, guess what, now you gotta have this.
Reset everything.
You gotta have, you know, who's to say that could happen or will not happen, I don't know. Originally, when we set it up, it was a one-time setup fee,
Okay.
and it's around $4,700. I don't remember exactly, but it was around $4,700.
Thank you, no, I just had a question.
A reminder for you folks on the council, Bill, Mary Jane, Joe, and Kim, you need to sign, get a petition filled out and signed, if you so choose, before August to remain in your positions.
And it's $30, 10 signatures, but you need a little more than 10, just in case someone's not registered.
And we look forward to having you all.
Yes, I do. And see, here I thought I was one of those lucky people.
And I do not
Can you
sign
tell
anything.
me when the term I'm filling will be up?
Next year, January 1. No, you're filling mine.
Yes.
Mine's not until 15.
Okay.
You're not due till 15.
That's
Thank
fine.
you, excuse me, yes. I took Neil's, you took mine,
Yes.
and I was good till 15, Neil was good till 15, so,
Okay.
yeah, 2015.
Thank you.
Where do you pick those?
You have to go to the Board of Elections at the courthouse, sign some papers, and give them your $30, and
But you give them the $30 after you turn it.
oh,
When you file
which is
petition.
one way or the other, it's $30 when you
Yeah,
file.
that's something I forgot.
And you need, what is it, 10, Mary Jane, right?
10 signatures.
But you should get extra because
Yeah.
if you only get 10 and one of them is not up to date with the registry down there in Won't County, so I would get extras.
August 1st, it has to be in.
Make sure that you sign your form too, at the bottom where it's no good when you turn it in.
Yeah.
And make sure you get the dates. When you sign that, make sure that the last person to sign it doesn't put a date before the person above it, because it will be invalid. In other words, She had signs today of 3, if somebody signs it tomorrow, puts 2, her petition will be invalid.
Just go keep and do what did.
So it's important that you get the information correct, including the date.
And also the signatures, they told me that have to be the same as you sign when you sign in the vote. And I forgot all about that, so I don't know if you guys signed this the way that you did when you go vote or not.
I did not.
You
So
didn't?
I'll be signed. Yeah, see there, open discussion there. So. All right, anybody else have anything else? Okay, Mr. Carlisle?
Yes, sir. I'm going to ask this to the council, so I'll just go ahead and ask you. Is there an ordinance or any kind of law or regulation in this village that if I'm walking the street, I have to have personal ID on me? And I'm not talking about driver's license.
I don't know, man, he asked the police department.
No?
I would think,
I don't know.
I would think that would come under the police department's rules and regulations.
You guys are in charge of the police department, so I'm asking you here tonight.
I don't know, I can't answer.
Can the officer answer that?
I do not have the answer for you.
As far as I know, state and federal laws are not regulating you to carry a DOE.
But in the instance, if you were stopped or something, I would suggest that, I would assume that the officer would ask you for an ID to show who you are.
And if I don't have it, can you arrest me?
That I do not know. I do not know.
If you refuse to give information regarding your identification or something that you may be suspected of committing a crime, then yes, if you refuse to, you can do
Well,
it.
we're not talking about that. If I don't have no wallet with me, you stop me and want to see my ID because you don't like me.
We don't do that, first of
Well,
all.
then secondly,
Secondly, no, we have to have probable cause
yes, sir.
to get you out of here.
That answers my question. Thank you, Council.
If nothing else, I need a motion to, anyone else? I need a motion to adjourn.
I so moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Joe?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Mary Jane?
Yes.
Kim?
Yes.
Kathy?
Yes.
Brad?
Next meeting, July 1st, 7 o'clock.
Time flies.
July 1st, I may or may not be here on July 1st. Or I just might be at the hospital having a baby.
Oh, my God.